Hey there, it's DJ Uni, and today I'm showing you how a unicorn mixes lo-fi vocals.
Yeah. Tell me what you think about me. Yeah.
You see, a few months ago I did a video on how to make lo-fi beats, but everybody kept asking me how I did them lo-fi vocals. So here's how I do them lo-fi vocals. We'll start by hitting B on our typing keyboard to bring up the smart controls or the mix window. The first thing I need you to do is crank that reverb up. I don't want a little bit of reverb, I want a bunch of reverb. So let's push it up to 3/4 of the way. I don't care, just push it way up there. Next, let's go to compression. First, we're gonna turn it on, then we'll open it up. And the first thing I want you to do is set the gain to about 1 dB. Then the attack, leave the attack. You don't wanna attack the attack or you might get attacked. Then for the ratio, we're gonna go with something a little bit more gentle than I would typically do for like a pop vocal. So we're gonna stick around that 3:1 range. Then lastly, we're gonna adjust the compressor threshold. And all we're gonna do is slide it to the left until our vocal is hitting about halfway down this meter on average.
Tell me what you think about me.
A quick shout out to all of my iOS users out there. You can find these same tools by selecting your vocal track, hitting the mix button, scrolling down to plugins and EQ, then hitting the edit button where you can add or subtract all of the plugins that I show you in this video. And it might look slightly different, but all the same techniques and rules apply. Next, we'll move on to EQ, where we're gonna shape the vocal and make it sound a bit more vintage. First, we'll use a high pass filter to cut out some of the low end from our voice, and we're gonna bring it up to 500. Next, we're gonna use a low pass filter to shave off some of the highs from our voice, and we'll take that down to 5K. Anytime you shave some of the highs and the lows off of a piece of audio, it just makes it sound a bit more vintage. So you can experiment with how much or how little you wanna shave and how vintage or how clean and clear that you want it to sound.
Tell me what you think about me.
Then lastly, on this lead vocal, we're gonna add some pitch correction. So we'll hit E on our typing keyboard to bring up the edit window, make sure you're on the track tab, and then slide it up as much as you desire. But remember, we're going for something less processed than a modern pop vocal. For me, that number was 84, but for some of you, that's gonna be way too much, so you have to decide. Then lastly, you'll hit the limit to key button if you know and have already pre-selected the key of your song. If you don't know the key of your song and you haven't pre-selected it, then do not hit the limit to key button or it will sound
weird.
So that's it for our lead vocal. Now let's listen back and see if we've done our job.
Tell me what you think about me.
Oh yes, it's beautiful, isn't it?
I just wanna think about you.
Next, let's move on to mixing those background vocals. And you've already done a lot of the work, so what we're gonna do is hit Command D to duplicate that lead track, which means that all the moves and processing you did on your lead track are now in this new track. And the only two moves that we need to do to this background vocal are number one, to crank that reverb to make it sound a bit more ambient than the lead vocal. And then number two, we're gonna pan this thing to one side or the other. Then for any more background tracks that you make, simply duplicate this background track and pan it to the opposite direction so that it balances the background vocals in the stereo spectrum. And now let's give them a listen.
Yeah. Tell me what you think about me.
Shoot, that's fresh. Now lastly, we're gonna look at how to make warped background vocals. We'll start again by duplicating one of those background tracks. And first, I'm gonna show you how to make a low octave, or what I call a monster track. Simply go into the plugins menu of the new track and add what's called the vocal transformer. Then you're gonna take the vocal down 12 semitones or 1 octave, and you're gonna push the format down to -5. Now simply copy the tape and paste it into this monster track. Next, let's duplicate that monster track and we're gonna create a high octave, or what I call a chipmunk track. So again, let's open up the vocal transformer plugin, and this time we're gonna go in the opposite direction and go up 12 semitones or 1 octave, and then push the format up to +5. Then of course, you'll copy whichever performance you wanna paste into this chipmunk track. And in my case for this song, I copied the harmony and put it on this chipmunk track. is a thing of beauty, isn't it? Jeez Louise, my Uncle Pegasus used to say. And that, my friends, is how a unicorn mixes lo-fi vocals. Now, if you enjoyed this little production lesson, then would you just give a little tappy on that like and subscribe button, and then leave a scrumdiddlyumptious comment like, this lesson was tastier than a chocolate chip breakfast muffin. And then maybe, just maybe, you'll see DJ Uni back again for another production tutorial.